Clemson and SMU are meeting up in the ACC Championship Game. SMU's very first year in the ACC. What a come up it has been for the Mustangs. This one's going down at Bank of America Stadium, should I say, in Charlotte, North Carolina, as it typically does. SMU opens as a 2.5 point favorite, and the over under is set at a very high, at least high for conference championships for sure. Um, Over under at 55.5. That's crazy compared to some of these other games. Clemson is in a rare situation where they lose their regular season finale and find themselves in their conference championship game due to the fact that Miami was not able to convert on the road against Syracuse this past week. Um, I think SMU is a really strong offensive team, Mason. I'm I'm a little bit concerned about SMU's defense in this game, and a little bit of what I saw from Clemson uh, last week has got me concerned a little bit about this defense. SMU's not great against the pass, and I think that's where you are getting a lot of this, the high number here of 55.5. SMU's just not very good at defending the pass, and Clemson has taken a couple of steps in the right direction as far as the wide receiver room and the passing game this year. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Take away the last play of the game for Cade Klubnik, and he plays a good game against South Carolina. I thought he played a fine game. Um, Clemson had trouble running the football, so it'll be interesting to see if Phil Maffa is going to be able to, go. Is he going to really be able to be 100% for this one? If he wasn't last week, I don't know that he will be this week. But I think that is a big point for the Clemson offense going against this SMU defense, who's been really good against the run. Mason, SMU's been good against the run. Their defense has really been kind of a tale of two, schematically different things going on. Pass defense has been terrible. The defensive line, pretty doggone good. Clemson's offensive line showed me something last week as well. I talked about Klubnik. I talked about the wide receivers. I thought they were pretty impressive. The offensive line impressed me as far as protecting the quarterback. And that's going to come in handy against SMU in this one. I think the right team is favored here. I think this line is set up just perfect. SMU has not played a particularly crazy schedule, right? Their one regular season loss came to BYU, and that was earlier in the season, and it was a very low scoring, uncharacteristically low scoring game for SMU, where the offense wasn't really firing on all cylinders. But ever since Kevin Jennings took over this offense from Preston Stone early in the season, it's been one of those teams where they've done this, Mason. They're climbing. I feel like they're still climbing, and they've figured out ways to win whenever things weren't going well. They had that game where they turned the ball over 4 or 5 times and still won. This team, while they have played some cupcakes and some teams that are not at the top of the college football playoff ranking right now, I do feel like they've been through some trials and tribulations this year, and I've got faith in this offense. I'm interested to see how healthy they'll be. At the wide receiver position, that was something to kind of consider at the end of the year at the end of the regular season, I should say. How healthy are they going to be? I like SMU in this matchup, though. I thought Clemson played a really, really good game last week. How do you go from that low of a low and get back up to where you need to be able to play this game? I feel like SMU's been pretty consistent throughout the year. I think they continue to be in this game. What are your thoughts going into this ACC championship here in 2024?
Yeah, well, looking at both of these teams, I think that both offenses are really balanced, right? They're pretty good in all aspects. I really like what Kevin Jennings has done, and how he's played for SMU since he got the opportunity to play. He really took it and never looked back. He's really one of the best athletes in college football. Probably doesn't get talked about enough. Playing in the ACC, but also playing so far out west. But I really like Kevin Jennings. I think that not having RJ Maryland should have hurt this team more than it did. They really didn't skip a beat. I mean, he was their leading pass catcher, and he goes out, and it seems like the SMU offense just had very little drop off. There may have been a little bit of a drop off early on, but they seem to have figured things out here as of late. Looking at these two teams, though, the one area that I point to and say, okay, here's the advantage for one of these teams that's a clear advantage. It's SMU's rush defense in this football game. If you make Clemson one dimensional, I think that you've got a real chance to win this game. And that's what they've been doing all season long. They've been taking teams that typically run the ball pretty well, and they've been making them one dimensional. And it's worked. It's worked really well all season for SMU. I think that they could do the same thing in this game. Kind of take Phil Maffa out of the equation, take Kate Klubnik's legs out of the equation, and you've got a chance to win that game. Now it's a little bit tough when you have a quarterback like Klubnik who can do some nice things with his legs, and you if you give him the opportunity to run the football a lot, run a lot of RPO, and design quarterback run type of plays, it becomes tricky on your defense because now the safeties are starting to look into the backfield a little bit more than maybe they should. And then all of a sudden, Bryant Wesco burns you over the middle for a 75-yard bomb, and it kind of flips the game. So it's a two-way sword, but ultimately, if this defense for SMU is able to do what they've done all year. They're fourth in the country in rushing yards given up per game, which is just 95.8 per game, which is really, really solid. Then if they're able to do that, then I think I'm with you, Mark. I think that they can definitely win this football game. On the flip side, I mean, Clemson, like you said, their offensive line absolutely stood up and took the best, really one of the best defensive lines in the country, if not the best, in South Carolina's, and kind of took those boys to the woodshed. They really handled them in a way that the Gamecocks defensive line has not been handled all year long. So if they can do that to South Carolina, I think they can do the same thing to SMU. With that type of game plan, if they're able to execute like that, I like Clemson. I think that it really, it doesn't take a genius to come up with this analysis, but this game's going to be won at the line of scrimmage. And in particular, I'm looking at Clemson's offensive line versus SMU's defensive line. One of those two have to give. I tend to think it's going to be Clemson's offensive line that kind of regresses back to the median here. But anything could happen. Clemson's been here before. They've been in this ACC championship over and over again under Dabo. It's ingrained in their culture. These guys may not have played in those championship games in the past, those national championship games in the past, but a lot of that stuff's hereditary for these programs that have built up a culture like Clemson has. SMU, while they were in a championship game last year, it wasn't the ACC championship game. This is a step up in competition. I'm really excited to see this game. It could go either way. I think this is another one where I really do feel like we are getting the two best teams in the ACC. The two best teams in this conference are playing in this football game, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Right now, I'm leaning slightly towards SMU, but I'll be on Tuesday's show. I'll be giving a full prediction on where I'm at on the over and under and all that as well.
Let us know in the comment section, watching this later, or if you're watching this live now, if Clemson is able to win this thing, should SMU still be in the college football playoff? I'm interested to see what y'all think about that. So SMU defense, I was looking up some of the stats. They're 96th against the pass this year and 5th against the run. Now, obviously, you got to take into account who's played who and all that type of stuff. But you can kind of see where that strength lies with that SMU defense. Mason, did you mention RJ Maryland whenever you were talking just now? We had somebody in the comment.
You weren't paying attention to me?
Sorry, I may have been busy over here. These guys are chatty tonight, so we've been chit-chatting back and forth. So is he out?
Yeah, as far as I know, he was out for the whole year when he came
So he's okay. I knew he was out. I didn't know. I thought he was coming back at some point. I didn't know that he was out for the whole year. Yeah, that sucks. I forget who was asking about that in the comment section. But that certainly sucks for SMU not having RJ Maryland in there for that one. I'm going to reserve my pick again on this one till Tuesday. I don't think I have my mind made up on any of these conference championships yet. Just kind of trying all this stuff on for size here. The mental aspect of this thing is where I'm interested to see where Clemson's at. You know, um, losing at home in the way that they did, an emotional loss. I know Clemson felt like they had that game under wraps there in the fourth quarter, and what will the mental side of this be for Clemson, and is Dabo able to get those troops rallied? I think that'll go a long way. I was listening to Paul Feinbaum earlier today, and he was talking about and it was an anonymous coach. You know how he does; he can't give his sources or whatever, but he was talking to a coach on the sideline of a game this weekend, and they were just talking about the state of things. And the coach said, these kids just, they don't listen to us at all anymore. Um, they don't listen to anything that we've got to say. They're all making millions of dollars, very, very hard to talk to these kids and teach them anything at this point. So I think it's going to come down to in this 12-team playoff and in this game as well, Clemson and SMU, who's got a player-led football team. And that's going to be a trend going forward. You're going to have to be led by the highest paid player on your team, I guess, to be able to, and the coach and that player are going to have a partnership, and they're going to have to work together. And there's a whole nother aspect to this NIL era that we're in and playoff era that we're in. This is going to be a really good one. ACC Championship Game going down at 8 p.m. on Saturday. Can't wait. We're going to talk more about it on Tuesday at 8 p.m. here on the First and Long College Football Show.